Okay, so thank you, Sarah. And the question was, what does it mean to abide? This is one of my favorite questions and probably one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible. So before I get right into it, I'd like to read it first so that we can have context and we can understand what we're talking about. So when we look at John 15, verse 4, the scripture says, abide in me, and I will abide in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is cut from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you abide in me. So, what does it mean to abide? What does it mean to abide in God? Abiding is, in the technical sense of it, it means to dwell in a place, to remain, to tarry in one place. So when we think of God asking us to abide in Him, He's giving us an invitation to actually dwell in Him, to stay in that place of communion with Him. But the wonderful thing about abiding is it's not just God giving us an invitation. God is also looking Himself for a place on the earth where He can abide. He's looking for people. When we think about God, and oftentimes people think of God looking for a place to dwell, and they think of, let's say, a church or a temple or something like that. But the reality is God is not remaining or dwelling in a church or a building. God is actually looking for bodies. He's looking for us, people like us. He's looking for sons and daughters that will say, God, Jesus, you are welcome in my heart. You are welcome to remain. You are welcome to do your will, to have your way in me. So God, as much as He's giving us an invitation to abide in Him, He's also looking for a place Himself to abide. So it's a two-way street. So when we think of abiding, it's a communion. It's communion with God. It's also unbroken fellowship with Him. Being in an unbroken fellowship with God means that you are continually in communication with God. You are continually doing the things that are on His heart. You are continually walking with Him to the point where He's able to change you. He's able to transform you. One of the things that I like about that is when He says in there's a part where He says, for a branch cannot produce fruit if it is cut from the vine. So when we think of the branch, He's speaking, the branch is us, and we think of the vine. The vine is where, when you look at the tree, the vine is where all the nutrients come from. So us being the branch, God is saying, if you are cut from me, you will not be able to produce any fruit, because all the nutrients that we need to produce fruit actually come from God. So when we think of one of the fruit of the Spirit, peace, love, joy, and all of these different things, the more we abide in God, the more we spend time, the more we have this unbroken fellowship with God, we can actually walk in the fruit of the Spirit. And that's one part. But the other side of abiding in God as well is when we start abiding in God, he also starts sharing the burden on His heart with us. We also have access to sorry, I'm setting up my lights because it's starting to be dark. So He's also sharing with us the burden on His heart, the things that He wants us to carry out in this world for Him. When we think of each and every one of us, we each have a plan that God had set forth before the foundation of time. Before Sarah Jane was born, God knew, I'm gonna get her to be a worshiper for me. Before any of us living here were born, God had already planned something for each of us to do for Him. So our lives were already planned, and for us to be able to access the fruit that we are to carry here, to be able to be fruitful on this earth, for our lives to count for something, God is calling us to have that unbroken fellowship with Him, because without Him, apart from Him, aside from Him, if there is a broken fellowship from Him, then it is very difficult to be able to carry out the plans of God for us, because it is in that place of abiding abiding that we get to hear what God is saying. We get to receive what God is saying. We get to carry the burden on his heart. We get to be his hands and feet in this world, and we get to fully fulfill the commission that he has given us. We get to walk in the purpose that God has for us in this life. So especially in the season of my life, for me, when you ask me what is abiding is remaining in that place of constant fellowship, unbroken fellowship with God, constant communion with God, so that I can continue to walk out the plans and the purpose that he has for me, and be able to impact the places that he has already said that Mia will be going to that nation and impact that nation and do this and do that. And it's in that place of abiding that I get all my directions, that I get all the guidance that I need to walk into these places, and moreover that I get to experience joy, to experience peace, even in hard times in life. These things cannot take me down because I'm abiding, because I have direct access to the fruit of the Spirit, which is peace, love, joy, and all of those wonderful things that God speaks of. You can go and check in check the fruit. It's one fruit. Check the fruit in Galatians 5. So again, when we think of abiding, if I have to summarize two things, God is looking for a place to dwell. He's looking for a place where he also can abide, and he's looking for children who will be able to abide in him, and those children will walk in the plans and the purposes that he has for them. It is God's joy to see each and every one of us walk in our purposes. I believe that when Sarah, you got that music out, the first person to sing, the first person to dance, the first person to shout and rejoice, it was God, because you started walking in the plans that God has for you, and he has greater. He will always have greater plans for you that you can think or imagine, and it's the same thing for everyone. So I'm glad that you gave me a little bit of time to talk about abiding. This is what abiding is, according to scriptures, and it's a beautiful walk. And of course, for those who are looking to abide in God, I would say just start today. Don't delay. You are missing out. If you're not abiding, you are missing out. And I encourage you to just, trust God with your journey. Start seeking God, faithfully. And you will start seeing his plans unfold in your life, and you will start seeing his hands here and there. And yes, it's a beautiful journey. It's a loving journey. So this is what I have to share about abiding, and I pray and I hope, Sarah, and that it blessed you, and that you will continue to impact the world and impact people with your song, and bring their hearts closer to God. So this is what I have to share.
I depend totally on you. I gave up my pride because I know without you I can't do anything.